choosing something that gives you joy and going back to that point where you got the inspiration, going back to that movie, going back to the game, the anime, and thinking, this is why I want to do that.
You're at the level now that you're a cosplay judge. How does that feel?
It feels really cool because I've been doing this a long time. And I always like looked up to those people, those cosplayers who got to judge when I was like 16, and I was like, whoa. And then I got to know them and got like into the community more. And now I get the chance to judge and like confirm that sometimes I know what I'm doing and get to like share that experience and learn more. And
Yeah,
it's really fun.
that has to be like one of the signs that you've made it, right? Like you're being the one that gets to look at what others have made and not necessarily judge it harshly, but tell them that this is how you can improve. Because that's a lot of what you do is, isn't it? Like telling them how to improve. Not that they've failed, but...
It's also like them showing us, it's obviously them showing us what they can do, but it's also even more so learning all the different ways that people do things. And so even they can come up with things that I haven't thought about was like possible. And then I can use my own experience and education and stuff to think that's a hard thing to do and like measure up like the how advanced what they're doing is. And so if they come to me like later, I can obviously like give feedback on what they explained that they've done and how that can evolve.
Yeah. You've been cosplaying for a long time.
Yeah.
How many years or?
Technically, I went to my first convention when I was 11. And I'm 26 now. So I guess that's 15 years.
15 years, yeah.
Obviously, I didn't like make my own cosplays for that first convention. So it has been like a gradual thing of making the cosplays and stuff. So it took a few years before I like got into making a lot and got into like the community part of it.
I feel like that's the way people usually start. They start with like either store-bought or just like closet cosplay.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Not saying anything against that because that's like the pillar of this community, people doing it for cheap because cosplay can be easy, as we saw with Eivind and his cosplay of Ned. So how many costumes have you made?
Oh God. That's a hard question. I think I tried to like make a Word file of it some years ago, but I didn't keep that up. But it's also hard to say because sometimes I've made things, sometimes it's like bought or like put together pieces, classic cosplays, or buying screen accurate stuff, or like a mix of things, tweaking stuff. So everything like on my Instagram is not necessarily made by me, but so yeah, but
you have like
I don't have a number on
a couple of cosplays, different cosplays per year?
It has really depended on the year.
Yeah.
Lately I haven't gotten to do so many because I've been busy with university. But it can be multiple a year.
Yeah.
But it also depends on how like complicated it is.
Yeah,
so
of course.
It's like normal, at least for me, to like have something that I either like buy normal clothes for or just like reuse. So like this weekend I'm reusing things that are like normal clothes but it's still cosplay, and some of it is screen accurate. Not that that matters. That's just like a very niche part of the hobby
Yeah.
that you can choose to participate in. So I think it's good to have that balance of you don't have to make everything. So you can make like one cosplay and you can get like a closet cosplay. And so that you don't have to make like 10 cosplays a year.
Yeah.
But it also like depends on your energy level and stuff. So some people have like very high energy and sometimes you're like burnt out and yeah.
Personally, I think I only have one cosplay, and that's like closet cosplay, but it was fairly accurate.
But it's still cosplay.
Yeah, it was Ryu from Street Fighter. I practice karate, so I did have a spare gi, so I just tore that up and put on a
like
black belt. So yeah, that was very cheap and my first cosplay, and it was fun. I have plans for another cosplay, but that's like years in the making, and I have so much else to do. So I'm not like and having cosplay, doing cosplay like you do, like is, would you call it professional or semi-professional?
I wouldn't call myself a professional cosplayer. I guess mainly because I don't do a lot of like guesting or
Yeah.
anything like that. It's very rare. At least it has been rare that I get to do like judging and stuff. But I'm obviously trying to get into costuming as a profession. So they're kind of like linked. You
Yeah.
use your experience in one with the other and stuff. So I'm aiming to do like costuming professionally, not necessarily cosplay, but I'm very happy to do like something here and there whenever asked. So I wouldn't call myself like a professional at all.
But even being semi-professional, it takes a lot of time, and seeing your cosplay, obviously there's a lot of effort that goes into a cosplay, and it's not something you just like do a weekend and then you have the cosplay, right?
No. Like my Susan cosplay, I worked on for a long time and it's technically still not done. But I got it like ready for photo shoot done. And it's like, I think even now it has like 10,000 rings for the chainmail because they're really small rings and there's still like a bunch missing. But it looks good enough for people not to notice. And I worked on that one the whole of my second year at folk high school, but I also started it and planning it and learning like chainmail making my last year at folk high school. So it's like been in process for a long time.
But chainmail, it's metal.
Yeah, it's I used aluminum rings, I think.
But still, aluminum being a light
It's metal,
it's
yeah.
still heavy.
Mine is not that heavy, but it's because I have like delicate rings.
Yeah.
But it is like heavy, like in total.
Yeah, I would like think about wearing that for hours.
Yeah, I haven't worn it for a convention yet.
No.
I should do though. I need to find it first. But I did wear it for that whole photo shoot day. But I think once you like get quite decent at construction and things, you get something that fits you. So it like the weight is distributed quite well.
Put a belt on, you carry that.
Yeah, because that one has the chainmail is attached to a leather corset on the inside. So it's like strapped in. So it's not like
just on your shoulders.
It's like set in there. It's not like falling off or anything. And then there's a corset on top of that as well. And so you're quite like structured, I guess.
Yeah.
So that helps with like feeling comfortable.
Yeah. I wouldn't have thought of any of that, having it like attached to your body, carrying the weight. I wouldn't have thought of that.
It's a lot of like planning and with experience you
yeah,
know.
learning by failing.
And also that year I had like teachers that I could discuss things with as well. So it's useful to like discuss with other makers like your ideas.
You mentioned university.
Yeah.
And you mentioned costuming. Are those related? Are you at school for costume making?
Studying costume with textiles is the official title in England. So I've done 2 years of that, and now I'm home for like a placement year. So I'm doing placements at theaters, and now I'm at a costume house, which rents out costumes for like movies and TV and commercials, and also people going to parties. So I'm like learning a lot of different types of costuming professions, I guess. And I can bring a lot of them where like I think it's cool that I come from a cosplay background because I have like I guess different materials and inputs that I can bring into what the normies haven't heard about, and then I can get like input from them back on what they use and what's useful for like each area. Like for theater, you need something that can last for a whole production, potentially multiple productions every day, going through the washing machine every day, and something that lasts a long time and is like use thick threads and have a lot of like good structure and things that won't like fall apart.
Yeah, and I'll also assume documenting everything that went into making it, so when or if something fails, it can be repaired or replaced or reproduced.
I mean, I do that for in like university type of things because I'm learning. So I need to like make a report and everything. So I like taking everything in, but I don't see like the professionals taking many pictures and stuff. But it's a lot of like trial and error, and yeah.
But I see like having the cosplay background will really help you because you're, as we touched upon earlier, is that you usually start with cheap cosplay with a limited budget, and you don't really have all that to play with, so you need to be frugal and you need to think about cheap solutions, and that gives you a certain mindset. And if you come from like up high and we just use this for everything and it's super expensive, they don't learn how to really make stuff work cheaply.
Yeah, because it's like, I guess, a bit of a different mindset. I lost my train of thought. But yeah, because with cosplay, you learn everything by yourself, even though you have like a community. But when you start, you don't necessarily have that community.
Yeah.
At least if you're like an introvert and don't dare to ask people like that you don't know. So it's a lot of like learning as you go and seeking out like different options, and both online and at panels and stuff. And with the starting at a professional level, I would assume you maybe, how do I go about this? Because at the professional level, you have like access to most things that are like produced at like a more niche market, not necessarily things that you could just go out and buy at the grocery store.
Yeah.
But when you start cosplaying, you kind of need to like figure everything out. You need to find your own materials. So you get very creative with that.
Yeah, that's very, very good experience to bring
Yeah.
to the table. And I really hope that goes well for you. And this is your last year, or do you have 1 year?
In my third year, but that's the placement year, so I have 1 year left.
Yeah.
After that.
And that is your master thesis, or
It's a bachelor's degree.
yeah, bachelor. Yeah, sorry.
So it's like a big final project and everything.
To make a big costume, or not big, but involved costume.
It's like both. It's like kind of 3 parts to the degree. So it's design and like making, construction and everything, and also textiles. So we learn a lot of like methods for like embroidery, printing. You kind of decide what you want to do of that because there's not time to do like everything, but you could like screen print or laser cut or do like use the big embroidery machines. So I did like second year you kind of choose a specialism, so I did the embroidery specialism, which is a lot about like texture, creating texture and fabrics and whatever you want. So and like final year, it's like you kind of choose your own project and prepare for for real life and get to do your own thing and decide like your own visions, because obviously in the professional sense you would have like a director and a writer and everything that kind of decides for you or with you, but in university obviously you get a lot of creative freedom.
Yeah. So when you see on a movie on the credits roll the costume designer, that would be you, right?
Could be.
Yeah.
So the costume designer is like the head of the costume team, and then you have supervisors who like organize costume teams, and then you have cutters who make patterns and stuff, and seamstresses and breakdown artists and everything.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different like roles.
Yeah. A production is much bigger than you imagine.
So kind of you just hear about the costume designer, but there's a lot of different roles that go into it.
Yeah.
But it would be cool.
Yeah, of course. Do you have any people you look up to, inspirations that got you into this, or
For cosplay, it started actually with my sister was doing it, and also my second cousin, and I was a kid, and then I wanted to do it. Little 11-year-old me, and then my sister stopped doing it when I started, but it's fine. So I brought my mom and a friend to my first convention, Desicon. And then I just kept going and did it more and more. And for like costuming, like going down the costuming part, I actually kind of know the one who like initially inspired me. Now we have an email relationship because I interviewed him for one of my modules, which is the costume designer of Once Upon a Time, the TV show. It's just like fantasy,
dark? Yeah.
Half dark.
Yeah.
It's you can watch it with a family.
Yeah.
But it's like twisted fairy tale characters. Yeah, which is Eduardo Castro is his name. But you also have like the bigger costume names, like Colleen Atwood is a big name. Michelle Clapton, Game of Thrones. There's a lot of people.
Sounded familiar.
Yeah, she's done a lot of things. She did Alice, the live action, and she did she's done a lot of things.
Yeah. But it's fun, like when you actually get recognized as like
Yeah.
it's harsh to say, but when you look at the credit of a movie, the costume designer isn't the one that you really seek out unless you're into that. But like that name stuck out, so I must have seen it somewhere, and that means
I've seen it like multiple times.
yeah, she's been prolific
Yeah.
somewhere, and it's been like going in my back in the subconscious.
We'll Google her afterwards.
Yeah. But it's fun being able to contact and have a email relationship with your
So I was
inspiration.
like 13 and I saw that and I was like, whoa, that's so cool.
That's
I don't want to make those things.
but that's really fun. It would be like I imagine like being able to work with him even like down in the hierarchy would be
Could be
fun.
he's in America though, but
Yeah.
maybe it
Yeah.
would be fun to meet him and every one of those big names or small names.
Yeah. I have a couple of questions that I tend to ask, and one of them that I sometimes forget to ask is, we all deal with this like brain freeze and stuff, lacking inspiration, lacking motivation, not knowing what to do next. What do you do when that hits you, when you're working on a costume, or like now you're out and about with different theaters and making costumes for them? What happens if you're like feeling stuck? What do you do?
For cosplay, I think it's important to remember that it's a hobby for most people. So you're supposed to have fun with it. I think that's a big part. So in terms of that question, what I've dealt most with is like burnout, but that's not necessarily just cosplay burnout, but like
Yeah.
life burnout, autistic burnout. So I think it's important to like, if you are burnt out, the most important thing is not cosplay. It's like taking care of yourself, making sure you don't get more burnt out. And then maybe you need to like take it slow. Maybe you just need to rewear the cosplays you have or do closet cosplays. And then find that like joy, what made you want to do cosplay, why are you doing cosplay, and maybe you need to like wait a bit until you like go to a convention. Maybe that is a source of inspiration for a lot of people I know. When you get like back home and you're like, okay, I want to make stuff, I want to do stuff, I want to make a group, or maybe even doing groups could be a good thing, but then be careful of like not putting like too much pressure on like finishing something. And when you it's important to find a cosplay and like a series or whatever that you love, because you need that inspiration to keep you going. You need to love that character. Because you're going to be stuck with that character for a lot of hours. And so I tend to like, if I need a boost, I maybe put on the show. That I do actually do that sometimes when I'm just getting ready for the day. Put on the show, or at least the music of whoever I'm going to cosplay as, to like get in the mood.
Yeah.
So, for example, doing Katniss, I like put on some Hunger Games music and get my reference pictures. And so choosing something that gives you joy and going back to that point where you got the inspiration, going back to that movie, going back to the game, the anime, and thinking, this is why I want to do that. And thinking of like why you want to do it.
Yeah. You're kind of uniquely positioned in that question though, because for most people that I ask this question, they either do this as a hobby, then of course you do whatever to get the inspiration back, or I've talked to people who've been having this as work. Then you have a deadline. Then you need to meet that. But you're in both worlds there, because with cosplay you decide your own deadline, right? But with work you have to deliver to the deadline.
If it's work, you just kind of you have to get on with it.
Yeah.
There's not like you can't just I'll do it later when I get inspiration. You kind of have to just do it.
Yeah.
And that's why you kind of, if you do want to do it for work, you need to have that passion for it. It's not something like, ooh, I want to be cool. I want to do that for the glory of it or whatever. Glory is maybe the wrong word, but you need to have that base passion for it, because on the days where you don't want to do anything, you have to keep doing it and you have to just make yourself do it. So you need that background motivation, and maybe you can go back to like, what is it that I like about it? But you also kind of just need to accept that not every day is going to be grand.
Yeah.
Some days are going to be more shit than others. You're going to be tired. You're going to be bored even. But if you can do maybe like do like the tasks that you're most motivated to do, and it kind of depends what kind of job or task you're at. But if you're doing it professionally, if you are a judge, you just have to get there.
Yeah.
You have to like you made a commitment.
I talked to the students at Hardanger Folkehøgskole about this, and the importance of delivering to the deadline, right? For them, they're students, so they choose their own assignment mostly, and then they make their own deadline mostly. But for most of them, it's KawaiiCon and getting here in costume. And many of them probably want costuming or something similar of that in as a work, right?
Yeah.
And I try to hammer in the importance of the deadline, because the deadline doesn't move. You have to make the deadline. You can't if you make a perfect product a week after deadline, then you failed.
Like if you're in a theater, it has to go on stage.
Yeah.
It just there's otherwise they're going on naked or in the black t-shirt.
Enter stage right. I don't have a costume yet.
So when it goes like close to the deadline, if it's work, you just have to. It doesn't need to be perfect in that sense. And also, if you look at like theater or older costumes, they're not necessarily perfect. What's important is that it's on there. It does its purpose, and if it's like just your cosplay hobby, you need to like decide, do I need it for this deadline, and what shortcuts do I need to do to do that? So with my Susan, I needed to be like done for the photo shoot, so I decided I'm gonna do the rings so that they fill out over here so that it looks like it's finished. And it looks cool.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily finished in the sense that it's accurate yet. But as long as it's finished enough to give you that enough confidence, and no one's really gonna notice that things are missing. No one said to me, like, you don't have the chainmail under here. So you need to kind of like decide, what point do I need to get to, and how much work do I need to put in to get there? Do I need to work until 10?
Yeah.
Then you need to do that.
Yeah.
But it is also important to like take breaks and sleep and stuff. So you just like time management is a tricky thing.
Yeah.
I do still struggle with it sometimes. And I am a perfectionist, which is
I heard a
not
maker
great.
say something about procrastinating, and what he said was, "I get stuff done because I'm procrastinating something else."
Right.
So have two tasks, and then you can procrastinate on one of them, and then work on the
I think a
other
lot
one.
of people like
Yeah.
that's useful for because then you can like switch between
Yeah.
things, so you're not stuck doing just one thing. So
But you mentioned something about theater and that the costumes aren't necessarily that nice, right? And that's something I talked to earlier guest here on, and that's the theater experience. They made sets and props and stuff like that. And when you compare that to the cosplay, when the cosplay judge looks at your costume or your props or anything, they're like inches away, right? They're right up in it and looking at every detail. And the theater crowd are several meters away. So you need to build for different level of detail, right? So do you have any comparisons there? Do you have any experience with doing that?
it's been quite interesting this year actually because I've like learned that cosplayers do things very like proper and detailed, especially like here in Norway. We're kind of like everything needs to be up here. But it's really like what is the purpose of the costume? Is it for a high level cosplay competition? Because then you are competing on how well everything is done, and how well the details are done. Versus in theater, you need things to last. You need it to be like constructed right, and you need it to like be stable. You need it to not fall apart on stage. You need it to last through many performances.
And you needed to be able to be read at like 50 meters distance.
Yeah, they usually have like, I guess it depends on the theater, but and it depends on which stage it's supposed to be in. If it's like a smaller stage, the like meter rule is shorter.
Yeah.
So you could have like a 5 meter rule and like look at it, take a step back.
Yeah.
Does it look good from 5 meters? If it's a bigger stage, maybe it's 10, 20. And yeah.
I think a lot of people don't think about that because when you make something look good at 20 meters, it will not look good at 1 meter, right? But if you make something look good at 1 meter, it might not look good at 20 meter. So you need to be able to judge that as well.
Because like that's also a big difference between like film and theater. Because in theater, you're far away. There's a lot of like bright lights. You need like big like character.
Yeah.
Like
characters.
If it's like someone's a bit like gets like stabbed, you need to see properly like there's splashes of blood, you know?
Yeah.
Versus in a movie, you see all the details.
Yeah. You zoom in.
Yeah. We have very like high quality cameras now. You see every stitch. Yeah. It needs to like be smooth. That's where like I guess maybe that's most similar to like cosplay.
Yeah.
Because like at high level competitions, because you see all the details.
Yeah.
At stage, you don't necessarily see all the details, so you need everything to like be read right from every member of the audience. But also, I think in film as well as theater, you don't necessarily make the inside like super pretty.
No.
unless like they're taking off a garment in a scene. So cosplayers tend to like, we need lining for everything. But
In theater,
for
lining,
example,
yeah,
you
it
would,
costs
like,
money.
right, and it's not cost effective.
No.
You wouldn't like spend time on that unless you're like making
Showing
a
it,
statement of the jacket. So you might like line jackets and stuff, but like you would rather have like just like backing like another fabric to strengthen the like top fabric, and then just have the edges overlocked or something like that instead of lining. Because I mean, cosplayers don't come from that professional background.
No.
They see normal clothes like in the store. So we think that, oh, of course it's lined because my clothes are lined.
Yeah.
So it's a lot about like, what is the purpose of the costume?
It's I'm learning so much. I usually try to end these interviews with a moonshot. Like a moonshot being like a big dream, a goal, something you want to achieve. Doesn't have to be achievable, but like some big dream you have. Do you have a moonshot?
Well, could you just imagine the Oscar ghost?
Oh yeah, yeah, I can see that.
That would be fun. Obviously, that's not like, I don't need to be there, but it would be cool to like. I really want. My goal is like to do like a fantasy film or something, which is not a lot of fantasy films or something is made in Norway. So we'll see about that, but that, I guess that's the goal.
Yeah.
Make like a proper looking fantasy design, costume design, like Lord of the Rings type thing. That would be fun.
Just seeing your name on the end credits as the costume designer. Oh, that would be so cool.
At the moment, though, it's just like getting in there.
Getting in there, being the name under the name, and then working your way up.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what you have to do.
Yeah.
Just try and get in there and like work hard, work well.
Be noticed.
Yeah. Be nice. Niceness is a big part of it, actually.
Yeah.
Like if people need to enjoy being around you to like bother having you around.
Yeah, well,
because you spend a lot of time.
Yeah. And a lot of crunch time, I assume, like making stuff happen, meeting the deadline.
Yeah, they're every day in a stressful, I mean, sometimes stressful environment. You need to like vibe with people.
Yeah, totally understand that. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And I hope to see your name in the credits of a movie. That would be so awesome.
It would be.
But it was nice talking to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.